All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking one of the most incredible business transformations of the modern internet, the core strategy behind Shopify. We're going to look at how a super simple store builder morphed into this massive, self-sustaining ecosystem that empowers literally millions of merchants. If you've ever wondered how a company actually manages to go toe-to-toe with e-commerce titans, like, say, Amazon, well, the secret sauce is in the strategic flywheel we're about to break down. We're going to see exactly how they took the traditional retail playbook and totally flipped it on its head.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're kicking things off with the origin of the anti-Amazon. Then we'll dive into their philosophy of arming the rebels. After that, we'll map out the ecosystem flywheel, look at how they're scaling globally, and wrap up with the future of decentralized retail.
Okay, Section 1. The origin of the anti-Amazon, from Snow Devil to a global platform. You know what's really wild about this company? It's the stark contrast between how it started and the absolute behemoth it is today. So, picture this. Back in 2004, founder Toby Lutke just wanted to sell snowboards online. He had this little shop called Snow Devil, but he hit a massive wall. The e-commerce software back then was just clunky. It was rigid, ridiculously expensive, and it completely stifled any real creativity. So out of sheer necessity, Lutke actually coded his own bespoke solution from scratch using a pretty obscure framework at the time called Ruby on Rails. And honestly, that frustration, that was the spark for the pivot. He quickly realized the elegant software he'd built was way more valuable than the actual snowboards, so they pivoted to become a dedicated store builder. And as you'll see, it didn't just stay a basic tool. It exploded into the comprehensive global ecosystem we all recognize today.
And this brilliantly illustrates the strategic shift that totally defined their success. Think about a centralized marketplace, your classic Amazon model. The platform owns the customer, they control the ecosystem, and they absolutely dictate the rules. As a merchant, you're basically just renting space. The platform could tweak the algorithm or undercut your prices tomorrow, and you're out of luck. But the decentralized platform, it's the exact opposite approach. Instead of hoarding control, this anti-Amazon model is all about empowering the independent merchant. You get to own your brand, control your own customer data, and actually build direct, long-lasting relationships with your buyers. It's a totally different philosophy, one that makes the merchant the star of the show, not the platform.
Moving on to Section 2. Arming the rebels, empowering the independent merchant.
Now, the absolutely crucial concept here is this idea of arming the rebels. But what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, it's the deliberate strategy of taking incredibly complex, ridiculously expensive enterprise-grade tools and just handing them directly to small independent merchants. We're talking advanced inventory forecasting, seamless multi-currency checkout, automated abandoned cart recovery, the whole shebang. Historically, you needed a massive corporate budget and an entire IT department just to sniff these capabilities. But by democratizing this tech, they totally leveled the playing field. They're giving everyday entrepreneurs the exact same operational firepower that the corporate giants use. It lets them go head-to-head with massive centralized marketplaces without breaking a sweat.
To really wrap your head around the sheer scale of this rebellion, just look at this number, 2 million. That's 2 million independent merchants currently empowered by this platform worldwide. When you're arming 2 million independent rebels with world-class retail tools, you kind of stop being just a software company. To put that into perspective, that is way more individual storefronts than almost any massive big-box retail chain on the planet. I mean, think about Walmart or Target. They have thousands of physical locations, right? This platform is quietly powering millions. It's literally become the invisible infrastructure running a massive chunk of all global internet commerce.
All right, Section 3. The ecosystem flywheel, creating the lock-in effect. So let's pop the hood and look at the step-by-step engine driving this insane growth. Step 1 is where it all starts, providing those basic enterprise-grade tools we just talked about. But Step 2? That is where the real magic happens. By opening up an app and theme store, they basically invited third-party developers to come in and build custom solutions. And it creates this massive snowball effect. More merchants join, so more developers build apps for them, which makes the platform infinitely more useful, which in turn attracts even more merchants. And that leads us straight into Step 3, a deep, deep lock-in effect. Once a merchant has intertwined their daily operations, embedded their customer data, and totally customized their workflows using these highly specific apps, migrating to a competitor, it's practically unthinkable. The switching costs are just way too high.
The big takeaway here is this total transformation. They evolved from a simple software product into a truly indispensable, self-sustaining secondary economy. And get this, the platform's success is now entirely tied to the success of its ecosystem partners.
We're talking the developers, the designers, the marketing agencies. In fact, these ecosystem partners routinely pull in more money combined than the platform itself makes in direct revenue. When the ecosystem thrives, the platform thrives. It is a textbook masterclass in platform mechanics, basically ensuring everyone's incentives are perfectly aligned for long-term compounding growth.
Which brings us to Section 4, Scaling Globally, Dominating Cross-Border Commerce.
Let's break down how they're systematically dominating cross-border commerce by localizing 3 key pillars. First up, payments. By rolling out localized payment gateways, they make international transactions completely seamless. Second, logistics. Their push into localized fulfillment networks basically guarantees faster global shipping. And third, language. Merchants can automatically spin up localized storefronts that speak to customers in their native tongue. So think about what this actually means in practice. A mom-and-pop candle shop in Ohio can now instantly launch a localized German storefront, seamlessly take payments in euros, and guarantee fast European delivery. They've essentially ripped out every single point of friction that used to stop a small local business from becoming a massive global brand.
And finally, Section 5, the future of decentralized retail. What's next for e-commerce?
To wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a pretty provocative question to chew on. In a future driven by decentralized retail, who truly holds the power? Now, for the longest time, the answer was a no-brainer, right? The massive, centralized marketplaces held all the cards, and the merchants just had to play by their rules. But as we've explored today, by arming the rebels with enterprise tools, spinning up a self-sustaining app economy, and completely knocking down complex global borders, that dynamic is fundamentally shifting. The power is moving right back to the independent brand and by extension to you, the consumer, who ultimately gets a much richer, more diverse shopping experience. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this masterclass in platform strategy. Keep that power shift in mind the next time you shop online, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.